Good evening, you're watching Trendz live on SABC News Channel 404 with me, your host, Nkosazana Wakwatambuza. Now, there's no better way to start your weekend than with us, so come along for the ride. Museums and historical monuments are often regarded as outdated and insignificant for both young and old. Now, this Youth Month, the Aluta Nova Festival of Museums was determined to break these stereotypes. The James Hall Museum of Transport in Rosettenville, Johannesburg, was the place to be recently. This, as a culture of promoting young people towards museums, was ignited. And Trendz live producer Didintle Mokaleti joined them at the historical site. So let's get more.
Usually quiet, but full of memorable collections. On this occasion, the James Hall Museum of Transport has unusual guests. Gradually, young people are popping in for a tour they wouldn't necessarily enthusiastically volunteer to embark on. After all, this is a museum.
Our collection dates back to the 1700s. So it's a collection of historic land transport that gives us an overview of the modes of transport that were used in the city of Johannesburg, you know, during the colonial era, into the post-colonial era and post-apartheid era into the 21st century.
Unfortunately, few people are attracted to museums. These buildings tend to feel like silent spaces of learning and preservation, and it's the younger generation that seems least interested.
For a lot of young people who are constantly setting trends, constantly evolving, constantly moving with the times, with the technology, they get a bit demotivated to visit places of history that seem to be telling a story that is stuck in the past, you know. So young people want to belong to the story. They want to have ownership of the story, of their history, of their culture. So when you bring them to museum spaces where our collections are presented to them in through a historical lens, through a cultural lens, an idea that culture is stagnant and stuck in the past, young people get a bit bored.
This narrative is gradually changing as initiatives such as the Aluta Nova Festival aim to transform perceptions about the heritage monuments.
What did you learn? Coming to this museum today, it gave me like a lot of information about transport, I can say, because I saw like an electric car. Funny enough, it's from South Africa. Also, like I have this old bike, like exactly like that same one. Coming to a space like this is just like opening my mind more, I can say. So I'm just grateful to coming here and also like exploring more of like the museum, because like like June 16, I'm from Central Western Jabavu, so museum so it's also giving me like an interest to go there at June 16 and just to learn more about museums and more one day.
I'm a bit of a historian, so like when I go into these places, they're a little bit like triggering for me, but I really love facing the music. So like being inside and actually like learning any of this stuff is really like beneficial, just to have the knowledge. I think for the most part, we need not forget about the traditional ways of actually living, because they're part of like the fundamental ways of just like evolving.
And while history is revived inside, outside was a buzz. The festival also invites small businesses, which creates opportunities such as market access. Here communities at large are reached.
I like the fact that it actually introduces the youth to museums and attending museums, and the vibe that they bring is amazing, because after just viewing everything, then you have a chance to go shop as well as sit and listen to beautiful music.
It's great that we are actually hosting such events at such museums so that we can learn more about our history, our heritage places, so it's good.
The food is nice, the music is beautiful, and the energy from people, like the welcoming. Everyone has that energy, and you don't feel like, I don't feel like I'm from Tanzania. In my heart, I feel like I'm an African.
Museum was amazing. The food is also amazing. I actually purchased some samosas from the store. And the music, we got to see Stilo. It's been a vibe. It's still a vibe.
What is your message to the youth of today with regards to preserving history and culture?
Get up in the morning and visit a museum near you. Lifestyle is not only about going to parties and turning up and getting drunk. It's also very important to set some time aside for learning about your history and your culture and your identity.
Mission accomplished, generational gems passed on, while young people had an exhilarating time of learning. Well done to the curators of the Aluta Nova Festival.
Planning a trip or a holiday can be a daunting challenge. With all the administrations and checks, it can prove rather complex. But for those with vast local and international travel experience, it can be done effortlessly. And on Trendz, travel go-to and influencer Lula Maqalipi Hughes has been globetrotting for over 20 years. Yes, that's right, 20 years. And she joins me now to discuss how to plan a champagne holiday on a beer budget. Thank you so much for joining us, Lily. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, listen, you've been traveling the world for 20 years. Girl, I'm jealous.
Over 20 years.
Wow. Now, I want to know, what are some of your favorite destinations? Tell us where you've been exactly.
So, in Africa, I would say I've been everywhere. You know, I started traveling 23 years ago. I worked for an airline in Abu Dhabi, so I was traveling incessantly. But I would say, you know, over the years, because I've been traveling so much, there has been some of my favorite destinations. In Africa, for example, South Africa, I'm going to start by being biased, you know.
Okay.
I love South Africa. It's at the top of the list for me. I would say outside of South Africa, Tanzania is one of my favorite places to go. It's so peaceful, you know. It's just one of those destinations where you go, it's just really peaceful. I would say Ghana has a vibe, you know. I love the nightlife in Ghana. I love the people in Ghana. I love the food. Costa Rica is one of the top on my list, you know. I just loved how people were just so connected to, you know, the nature there. They have beautiful beaches, resorts. What is the other one? Bali. I've recently gotten married, and before, you know, I got married, my husband and I spent a month and a half in Asia, and we got to also go to Bali and Singapore. But Bali was just so inexpensive, you know.
Wow.
We got to visit different places, we got to eat, we got to stay in, you know, condos right by the rice field. So those are like at the top. And Antigua is the recent one that I've been frequenting. It's so idyllic, you know, you just can get so lost in it. And also I'm vegetarian, so when I travel to Antigua, I get to enjoy all the superfoods. You know, they have all these fruits that are just amazing.
I can only imagine. Girl, you obviously have vast travel experience.
Yes.
So tell us, what are some of the challenges that people can encounter when planning for a trip, you know, especially after they've chosen a destination?
I think people need to always look at the season, you know. People don't do their research and understand that there's, you know, off-peak, there's also peak season. First of all, the season can actually identify, just in terms of your expenditure, how much you're going to spend. So once you look at the season, it will then determine, you know, what is it that you're going to spend. But also, a lot of people book their flights around peak season. People who have families, they book their flights around peak season. So it's always good to book way in advance, like 8 months to 10 months in advance, if you want to enjoy peak season travel. But there's also low season, you know. Low season is around the time where, you know, there's different weathers and things like that. You can book a flight, but you need to do your research, because you'd find that you book a flight during a low season and then you go to Thailand and there's typhoons and you can't enjoy it because it's just raining. So you need to do your research very well before.
Absolutely. And talking about doing your research, finances can be a bit tricky for a lot of us when it comes to planning a trip. But there are, of course, some unorthodox ways that people can get to travel. So let's talk about those.
Absolutely. I think, there's a seismic shift just in terms of traveling right now. There's so many opportunities that you can access as a traveler. You can be able to use your skills. As a content creator, for example, I can go to a resort and ask them if I can actually create content in exchange to stay in that resort and also get paid. But also there's other ways these days of accessing being overseas. You can be emlazi or in Kwamashu, and you could be a virtual nanny, for example, and be able to actually look after a child who's all the way in Switzerland, and you earn in euros. So it's becoming like more inexpensive, and accessible. Like I'm saying, if you are in Duzuma and you've got good network connection, you can virtual nanny while you're sitting in Duzuma.
Now let's talk about travel agents, okay? So a lot of people are planning and curating their trips without involving a travel agent. Would you advise against this, or are you saying this is the way to go?
I would say absolutely have a travel agent on board. Having a travel agent is almost as though you're having a PA. You have a PA and you also have your advocate combined, because planning a trip can be like admin heavy, you know what I mean? You don't really know the languages that I use just in terms of finding out information about traveling. Whereas when you have a travel agent, it's almost like you have somebody to solicit for you should anything happen during your trip. And also there's a lot of scamming that's going around. So it's always good to always have an agent that's accredited. Also, because then, they have an industry support. Should anything happen to you, they can be able to contact an agent immediately across the board and you are sorted. I've made a mistake of not using my agent a lot of times and I've lost a lot of money. So I would advise anybody to invest in having an agent. You will pay maybe extra 500 rands extra, but it takes away all that admin. And also, I'm always frazzled when I'm planning trips. But if I use my agent, I forget about it.
Absolutely, Lulu. Thank you so much for proving to us that we actually can plan a champagne holiday on a beer budget. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, I always thought that traveling was expensive, but now we've been awakened to the truth that champagne holidays on beer budgets are possible. Thank you once again, Lulu, for joining us.
Thank you.
Cooking is about giving and improvising. It can often surprise you. And if, like most people, you love cooking as an exercise and play, pay attention right now. Trendz producer Asanda Zondi shared a meal with an award-winning food entrepreneur, the one and only Dine with Neo. Let's take a look at how the conversation went as they dined together.
The food service industry is growing fast, which makes becoming a chef a lucrative and appealing career path for many people. Additionally, the growth and expansion of social media celebrity chefs have glamorized the industry. Food entrepreneur Neo Nonto, famously known as Dine with Neo, who recently earned her first international award just 7 months after launching her first book titled Dine with Neo, My Insta Feast, is about to give us a better idea and understanding of what working in a kitchen is really like. Congratulations on winning your award. What was that award all about? What does that mean for you?
The award was an International Cookbook Awards in Sweden. I won in the category First Cookbook, the first best cookbook in the world, which is amazing. It's just validated everything that I'm doing and wrapped everything together. It's also great to be recognized on an international level. Not many people can say that. So it was such a special award for me, and it's for my followers. It's for my Instagram family. My book is called My Insta Feast for a reason, because I dedicated it to them. It's for them, just to make it easier for everyone to navigate my recipes and to be able to cook at home without having to log on to Instagram. When I was staying alone, it was so much more convenient to cook for myself. So I'd go to all these restaurants. I'd come back home and I'd want to recreate dishes in my house. So that's when I realized I had passion for it, because I always wanted to recreate it at home. When I was younger, I did cook, but I wasn't passionate about it, you know? I only started getting passionate about food when I was a bit older. When you have liberty to do whatever you want, you start enjoying certain things in a different way.
How do you stay that? Because we're seeing a growing number of chefs on Instagram.
It's very important to understand your audience for me. For example, I always make sure I cook with ingredients that are accessible to you guys, to everyone actually, even to myself. Like if now I can't, for example, I have never made a lamb shank recipe on my page. One, lamb shank is expensive. Two, not everyone is gonna cook lamb shank, although everyone likes lamb shank, but it's just not something I'm gonna jump to making, because not everyone makes lamb shank at home. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I always look at that trend and see how people eat at home and what we eat in South Africa as a norm. So how I try to stay relevant, just making sure I pick up on what South Africans are eating right now, what trends, what's selling at the stores in terms of groceries. This curry paste that I'm using, can my people find it at Eastern Cape? You know what I'm saying? Because my page caters not just to Joburg audience, it caters to all the audience around South Africa. So I need to understand the demographics. Is it only Caucasian people? Is it only black people? How do I put everyone together and make sure I'm cooking meals that we all grew up with, and also showing you guys how to make, because the chicken, we all cook chicken at home, but how can we use that same chicken and make it 5 different ways?
To winter, what are people eating?
So the food trend, obviously every winter in South Africa, is this stew. Yeah. Guys, people love stew.
What about muhodu?
Muhodu as well, but muhodu is hard to find for most people.
Yeah.
You know, I for one struggle with finding muhodu, especially muhodu that tastes like the one from home, the one that's not too clean. You know what I'm saying? So muhodu is what we're eating. We're eating the warm dishes, the stews, the soups. We're also having lots of curries, which I'm also starting to explore now. I love my curries. I love anything that's local.
Are you sticking to being a chef, or there's more to know that we don't know?
I mean, I want to take my time and dedicate myself to this thing that I'm doing right now, because there's just so much to do with food. And I think I just became more passionate about it, like now, you know, more than I was in 2017 when I started this whole journey. Only because I'm learning so much. I've experienced so much. I've traveled so much more. I mean, I'm ready for my next book.
What are the challenges that they should be on the lookout for, and how do they get to your level also? Award-winning, being recognized.
The most important thing you can do for yourself is do the work outside of social media. You need to switch off that phone and cook and read a book, read your recipe books, try out recipes, go to restaurants and eat. Not everything must be documented, you know. Grow yourself, grow your knowledge, see what people are cooking out there. Don't be shy to go to someone's page and check their recipes and how they incorporate A, B, and C, and how they make their stew, how they make their chicken, and then pick up some tips. Food is ever changing, you know.
Until next time, later, Trendz.
Johannesburg-born artist and illustrator Seth Pimentel, better known as African Ginger in the creative industry, is continuing in his trailblazing ways by returning with a new exhibition titled Pride Before the Fall. This new project opened yesterday at the first digital gallery in South Africa. Our producer Silepe Maifadi was out there. Let's take a look.
Seth Pimentel, an illustrator and artist that has been pushing the boundaries of contemporary art through his distinct portraiture style that fuses digital illustrations with paintings and drawings. He has now returned with his first digital exhibition titled Pride Comes Before the Fall.
He's a phenomenal multidisciplinary artist who's given us amazing, breathtaking works right through the years, the 10 years he's been creating. And this has been a new way and first time ever we get to experience his digital art ever. And it's quite exciting for us. It's such a phenomenal journey to begin to speak about the African optimism and what's happening and how we see ourselves through his work.
I love Seth's work. I think the way that he's integrated himself into the digital space is beautiful and effortless. I love the color that you see here. I'm obsessed with color, so I love the pops of color, and I love that he's kept true to his signature.
Throughout the years, Seth Pimentel, better known as African Ginger, is constantly developing his signature style and exploring other approaches to how he addresses themes that highlight the influence on how the digital age impacts identity and mental illness. This time, Seth searched more inward to express this latest body of work.
Usually when you hear the term pride comes before the fall, it's a sense of hubris before like destruction, but I wanted to flip that idea and actually have a sense of growth. Instead of hubris, it becoming change, you know. It's like a full representation of a metamorphosis. It's also like a farewell to my old style. It's a farewell to, you know, the old version of like my work and celebrating and opening up to the new versions. I'm going through a big change in my life. I think personally, I'm no longer like that young skater boy kid that, you know, used to chill in Brahm all the time. I feel like I'm coming into myself as an artist and coming into myself in terms of the world around me. You know, I want to not say goodbye to him like he's gone or whatever, but I definitely want to, you know, be a bit more grown up, a bit more developed with my stuff.
With the fast evolving digital space, the art industry is exploring how they deliver their masterpieces to the world. The art lover's journey has certainly evolved. This first for Seth has also opened up our eyes to experiencing digital art by debuting his works at the first digital African fine art NFT gallery in Africa.
Let me start by defining usurper. It's the name of our gallery, and it's really about our philosophy. To usurp means to take the throne illegally or by force, and essentially that's what we're trying to do with the traditional gallery system. We're trying to let people have a new view on art, how to buy art, how to view it, and try to have a cool vision of the future with, and letting go of all the elitist stuff that's come before us.
This NFT gallery and other new platforms such as this one are definitely flipping the script on how art lovers are used to buying art.
But it is NFT based, but we're doing digital fine art. So the NFT is a certificate of ownership and it gives the art provenance. For us, we completely we're a future thought company, and what we really are about is African optimism as we walk into the future together.
More young people are increasingly coming into the art space and just expressing themselves in whatever art form they see fit. And I feel like events like these and exhibitions like these are very important for us to, you know, keep track of and, you know, be aware of that movements like this exist and how the culture is evolving.
The future is most certainly where the youth is at, and the creative industry is firmly moving with the times.
Youth excellence is what we are showcasing this month, and the South African State Theatre Youth Choir is a prime example. So sit back and enjoy this performance. I'll see you after the break with more great art, entertainment and lifestyle news. Over to you, Songbirds.
Senkhala ngale ntombi mna Senkhala ngale ntombi Senkhala ngale ntombi mna Oh Yolena Yolena Oh yeah Oh Yolena Yolena yebo baba Senkhala ngale ntombi mna Senkhala ngale ntombi mna Senkhala ngale ntombi mna Senkhala ngale ntombi mna Awo Yolena Yolena Oh yebo baba Oh Yolena Yolena Oh yebo yebo Senkhala ngale ntombi mna Senkhala ngale ntombi mna Oh senkhala ngale ntombi mna Oh senkhala ngale ntombi Oh Yolena Yolena Oh yebo baba Yolena Yolena
Hold time. Goalkeeper, this is a caution for intimidation. Penalty pass. On my whistle. So the intimidation call is whenever the defender's action is eye-focused or any action that takes the attention of the shooter away from the ball. Intimidation always goes with a caution. So the hand signal for a caution looks like this. You will always have to stop time as you are now going into game management. Give the caution hand signal and then also give the hand signal for intimidation before setting your penalty, and then remember to restart the game as well.
Imagine a profound and transformational experience, leaving you feeling recharged, centered and connected to yourself and the universe. Well, sound waves, vibrations and frequencies are what a sound bath experience feels like, and we went on this healing excursion, so take a look.
The sound bath experience is a form of meditation where the participants lie down, allowing themselves to be immersed in soothing sounds and vibrations. It is a therapeutic experience that can transport us to a peaceful state of mind, loosening physical and emotional blockage. Each session is tailored to provide a fresh new perspective.
My name is Tiffany Lakuku and I am the founder of Nuru House. Nuru House is a well-being platform where we host different types of well-being activities and facilitate different gatherings and events such as retreats, sound baths that we have here, and just bringing about different content and information that is informative to our community about spirituality, wellness, and just general health. What inspired me to get into sound bath facilitation is, it started with a journey of mine of going inward and really looking at what modalities have been available to us from our ancestors back then, and what is it that we can bring back into current life that is still, healing and is very affordable and accessible to us. So when I started my spiritual journey and when I was dealing with mental health issues, I was like, what is a holistic alternative to medication? And having these soundboard singing bowls, retreats, just really self-soothing and going to those essence of healing has been a big inspiration. Benefits of a sound bath are, I always say, a sound bath experience is very unique to everyone, right? It brings out things that need to be brought out onto the surface. So everyone's experience is always different. In a class of 30, you'll have a lot of people feeling deeply relaxed. For some people, they feel anxiety building up, and I always say those emotions are not wrong. It's just there to help you identify and work through what is coming about. But a lot of the time, people experience a very grounding, releasing experience, which is exactly what we aim for. I focus specifically on the crystal singing bowls that you see here. And honestly, what inspired me getting them was, it was really guided. I can't even lie, it was really guided. It was something that came to me in my meditation, and I'm so grateful for it because I've even experienced the healing and the effects of it, the soothingness of it, the challenging of it. Like, I've experienced exactly what the bowls are meant to bring. I was very blessed by this company called Cosmic Sound in Sweden that actually gifted me with these when they saw that I'm embarking on this journey. And all of the 3 different sound bowls, singing bowls, have different notes, and those different notes are to affect you in a different way. So almost like a piano key. Pianos have different keys. So each bowl will make a different sound. And this collection that I was gifted is specifically for grounding.
I would definitely do it again. It was so grounding, brought up a lot of emotions. I constantly engage with oracles and tarot and all these things because I am quite a spiritual person, and so this is not foreign to me. This is not like taboo ground. I love this. It was everything I needed it to be.
Oh, I'm feeling grounded. I'm feeling lighter than I came in. So the session literally also does different things to me every single time, and this specific session did that. It was a nice release.
Now, I'm sure you all agree that going home to an aesthetically pleasing space that fits all of your style and utility needs is a wonderful experience. So what precisely is aesthetically pleasing for the home? Why does it matter? And how can you achieve it? Well, here's a lesson from an expert in the disciplines of interior design and decor, Donald Nxumalo.
Interior design, the practice of making an aesthetically pleasing, functional and safe interior space for people. Many homeowners and commercial business owners utilize the expertise of interior designers. They are amazing at capturing a feeling or knowing how to utilize a space properly. Let's dig a little deeper into the interior design field with the most.
When you speak interior design scene, his name will always pop up. He's young, he's gifted, and he's black. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Mr. Donald Nxumalo. Donald, welcome to Trendz.
Thank you. I should walk around with you everywhere I go. You must introduce me like that.
Like that, yes, I'm your girl. Don't worry.
Deal, right?
Just tell us about yourself.
I grew up surrounded by things that were always aspirational. My parents couldn't afford much, but because I was in close proximity to beautiful things, that allowed me to dream. So I would go to museums on weekends. I'd visit beautiful shops. Window shopping was a part of my family's culture, and I think that taught me to dream, that taught me to aspire to bigger, beautiful things that I saw around me. So I've always been a dreamer. Interior design is, before it becomes beautiful things, there's a practical component to it. Okay. It's about planning spaces. It's about designing ceilings, putting in air conditioning, the floors. It's about creating spaces in the interior that best suit the human being. Architects design the shell, we design the inside, meaning you're taking care of everything that the human being gets to experience. The final layer of that design would be the soft finishings, the things that make us feel amazing. So it's the fabric, it's the color on your walls, it's the lighting that you're using. And as interior designers, we're able to manipulate moods, we're able to manipulate how people feel. And that's great interior design, when you walk into a space and feel amazing. How do you get into it? And personally, from my own personal experience, is I studied interior design. I did a 3-year diploma, and then I did a 4th year, which is a BTech. I went to the Tshwane University of Technology, and so I've got a degree in what I do. I do believe in education, because when you get educated in a particular field, it gives you the level of confidence to walk into any room and know that you can do it. It also gives you credibility with your clients. So when you walk into a space, they know that you can too. I do believe that we all have to start somewhere, and for myself, I started in my own bedroom, and therefore it grew from there. So I think we shouldn't minimize small beginnings. I think those are really great places to start, especially as a youth. You'll be starting small, but the key thing is to start. So the end product should be where you're working from an office, where you have clients coming to see you, where you're able to display whatever it is you're doing, whether it's a showroom, an office, you can choose. There's been collective moments where I found myself in rooms that I believe have been instrumental in getting me to the next level. And in each of those moments, taking it and running with that opportunity, I think is what brought me to this point. I've done work for, Black Coffee, I've done work for Sonazi, Pelmo Dia. I've done work for a lot of it, even a head of state. I do think ambassadors, diplomats, we've done quite a bit. I mean, it's quite a healthy amount of
You
people
don't want to name drop, but okay.
Staying informed on trends is important to help you build credibility and value, and to show that you know where your field is heading in the future. Successful people spend time every day keeping up with the latest news and developments in their field. But is this always the way to go in interior design?
As a designer, my philosophy is not to be too bogged down by trends, because that can be fleeting, can be here today and out tomorrow, right? Yeah. So I have a saying: we date a trend, but we marry a classic. So the classic for me would be like using more neutral fabrics, or even using fabrics that are conducive to, that are easier to clean if you have a family with children. So your velvets, your leathers, and also maybe darker fabrics on sofas. That would be something I would call classic, because it's got a long lifespan, longevity to it. And then you can throw in those pops of colors like that are in trend now, like your yellows, your red, greens, and those become your trends. Those are easier and cheaper to swap out, but then your big ticket items, keep it as neutral as possible so that you have flexibility. I'm excited every day looking at young people coming in and really being excited by this industry. I think that we need more diversity in the industry, but we also need people who are excited to make a change.
I form part of the interior design team. I am one of the senior interior designers. Interior design, as any other industry, is going into AI. So look for institutions that are going that direction, and doing work that is also computer generated. So just look at what the future looks like, and then align yourself with that institution. And when you're in there, work hard.
The future for you, it bright, I'm sure. What do you have?
Oh, thank you for saying that. We are busy with some projects in Zambia, in Nairobi, in Dakar. We're also busy. We've launched our hospitality division, and through that we hope to do bigger projects on the African continent.
The South African State Theatre Youth Choir has been doing the most on the show today, and they are still going to commemorate the youth of Mzansi through song. Now, we are going to take a quick break. Don't touch that dial, because we'll be right back. Now, take it away.
Lomhlaba uyahlaba, lomhlaba uyahlaba. Lomhlaba uyahlaba, lomhlaba uyahlaba. Elungisize meli wami, lomhlaba uyahlaba. Ngenelela meli wami, lomhlaba uyahlaba. Elungisize meli wami. noma sengihamba kunzima ba lomhlaba awulekelela meli wami baba lomhlaba noma sengikhala kunzima ba lomhlaba awungenelela meli wami lomhlaba
This is where it all begins. The program that breaks the news of the day and reflects on what South Africans talk about.
Morning Live is rich in content and is driven by dynamic reflections and analysis.
And that is your heavy rains and very cold afternoon temperatures.
This is where facts and the truth always win the day.
We get the newsmakers and ask the uncomfortable questions.
And revive the defense of their title.
Morning Live goes beyond unveiling raw data to generate debate, setting public discourse agenda.
When did it become your business?
Who do you think you're talking to?
I'm asking a question. Wow, that's Mr. Paul O'Sullivan there.
We at the SABC bring you news that is independent,
impartial.
The annual Youth Expression Festival is back as we mark 47 years of 16 June 1976 student uprising in Soweto. The South African State Theatre is continuing with the long-standing celebrations of Youth Month, and we are here for it. Now, what better way to showcase that dynamic talent of Mzansi's youth than by showing their take of modern-day South Africa and saluting those who came before us through music, dance, and theatre. We are now joined by the State Theatre's Education, Youth and Children Theatre's manager, Diamond Mokwabe. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. Now, the word expression is a very strong one in South Africa. It's quite popular among the youth. How can we expect to see expression in this year's festival and performances?
All right, so this year we are going different, right? So firstly, we're going to express ourselves through fashion. So if you can remember correctly, our first experience of the youth post 1994 was your boom shakas, your drumpis, your, skwaito. Yes. So what we're going to do this year on the 16th of June, we are all going to dress up like our icons in the, old school kwaito. So that's our theme. We're going to express ourselves through that. And then also we're going to express ourselves through theatre, music, poetry, comedy and music.
So basically you're saying that we're taking it to post-apartheid, just after the 1994 elections. Yes. Can you tell us how exactly that will look like on stage for those who will be attending?
Well, for those who will be attending, they'll basically be looking at how, 2023 is right now, but reflecting on where we come from. So a theme that we're looking at is interconnectivity. How we look at how our actions affect other people. If you can remember correctly, the actions of the apartheid government at the time, affected a lot of black people in South Africa.
Yes.
So this year we're just reminding people to just be mindful, of how they treat other people and how their actions will affect other people's lives.
Now, since the festival kicked off in 2008, your initiative has been helping a lot of young creators in the South African industry. Can you unpack, how some of the people that you've helped have gone on to take over the creative industry by storm?
Okay, so firstly, what we started with is we start with workshops, to give people the information that they need to make sure that they empower themselves in the arts that they create, right? So we've had a lot of young people who participated in the Youth Expressions Festival who have graced our big stages. We've had people perform at the State Theatre and also perform at the Market Theatre, perform perform at Durban Playhouse, you know. So we've given these young participants an opportunity to actually perform in one of the biggest theatre complex in South Africa, but then also they're able to branch out and, you know, deliver and do what they do best.
Well, that is very great. Well done.
Thank you.
Now, what sort of themes can we expect to be showcased on the stage?
So we're looking at mental health. We're looking at, expressing our sexuality. We're looking at love. We're looking at loss. So we're basically looking at life. So you can definitely expect to see life on stage.
Mm-hmm. Now, the choir has most certainly set the tone for the festival. Now, break down the rest of the program for us.
All right. So the choir is going to open for us on the 16th of June, right? Where we're going to be having our official opening. We're going to have live opening performances at the precinct area outside of the State Theatre on the 16th of June. And then the State Theatre choir is then going to perform at 6 o'clock. And then we've got musical performances like Iye by Hlogisi Hua. We have Home, a musical concert by Rorisang Sishele. We have comedy, a play by Kagiso, Who Left the Fridge Open. Yes, okay. Who Left the Fridge Open, so a comedy. So I'm looking very forward to that. We also have I don't want to give it away.
Oh, okay. So we have to attend in order to know.
Yes.
Right.
Look at our socials. Come through and see what we have for you.
Okay, then I might just come by.
Please do.
Now, I want to talk more about the choir. I mean, absolutely beautiful performances that we've seen throughout our show today. How was this choir formed? What was the inspiration?
All right, so the choir was formed by, the EYCT department, but we have a guy called Mandla Ntlatlane who is the brains behind this choir.
Shout out to Mandla.
Mandla is awesome, right? Yeah. He's a powerhouse. He's performed at our State Theatre performances more often than once. So the choir went through audition process, which was very lengthy, where we had to, fine-tune, fine-comb, and find the perfect people. And then after the auditions, then they go through the training process with Mandla, where then they rehearse, and then they perform. They have Sest Fringe, where then they get to do their own performances. They've also performed with Mzansi Ballet Mapungubwe. It's the Mzansi Ballet of the Mapungubwe. Yes, I think I have it correctly. They also performed there. It is a ballet performance at the State Theatre. It was very big. They did really well.
Awesome. Now, if I'm a young person at home with a beautiful voice to share with the world and I want to join this amazing choir, how do I go about it?
All right. So we are going to actually have auditions next year at the beginning of the year. So they must just look out in our socials and see if they can come through for auditions. And then they better make sure that they impress Mandla because he loves talent and he can spot it. So make sure that you're prepared and ready to...
But what is the criteria? Is there a certain age that you have to be?
Well, they need to be a youth between 18 and 35. We don't really, discriminate on race, sex, and that sort of thing. So they just need to be young and talented and vibrant.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Thank you for bringing this choir. I am mesmerized. Honestly, you make South African youth proud. And all the best for the festival as well.
Thank you very much.
That was Diamond Mogwape telling us more about the Youth Expression Festival. Now, we have been giving you FOMO throughout the show of the amazing choir that will be performing there. And we have come to the end of the show, though. So as we love and leave you, we will rock one more time with the choir. And we will, of course, see you next week, same time, same place on SABC News Channel 404. Do hit us up on Twitter at Trendz on SABC and let us know how you will be commemorating the youth of 1976. Of course, I'm Nkosazana Dambuza, and it's good night. And from me and the rest of the Trendz team, take it away.
Basuga